All right, Lori. I hope it's not too late for this to be of any value, but I'll show you a quick look at what I see. First, I guess the first thing that I would see, and I think the thing that throws things off uh, right off the bat is that I think that her blocks she's too far away from the line. Um, generally speaking, you want to have this front leg underneath the hip. So, for example, actually let me put her in the set position. Right. So here, I just think she's too spread out. You'd like to see this front leg, this drive leg below the hip, and it's not. So, this is the position that she's in. Let me show you a quick video of Richard Thompson, '08 Olympic silver medalist in the 100, doing a three-point stance, and you kind of get a look at the difference. Right? Hips are directly above the toe of the front leg, right? That's the most efficient position to push out of. If it's too far forward, if our foot is in front of our hips, right, we're going to pop straight up because we can't push back from there. And if it's back behind, we're going to fall forward, and we're already afraid of that as it is. Now here's a couple really important parts. First, this is what I say pushing through the post or driving to full extension. This straight line from the ankle through the hip, through the back of the head, that's the position that we need to push out of when we come out. If we are not pushing and posting and getting into this position, our foot's going to drop. We're not going to take advantage of the strength training and all the other things that we do, and we're going to pop straight up and start spinning our wheels right off the bat. That's the kind of extension that we're looking for. We have to get into that straight line position. And doing that will allow us, again, to get this big, look at this big angle between our drive leg and our swing leg. Right? Big push, big punch of this knee gets that foot out. And this is where we have to be, the position we need to be in, right? Big arm split, right? We see our big arm split here. This position with the hips. You have to try to get yourself in that position. It takes longer to get there than just starting to get your feet going, but the way we're doing it's not fast. So we have to be in that position when we come out. And then, right, see here we can see his foot landing directly underneath his hips. But look at, because we're going to see the two steps here, look at his feet, the direction that they travel. See how they push down and back? Let's look at that again. So first thing we notice, what's one thing that we notice here? Watch his feet as he goes to push. My fault. Watch his feet when he goes to move. You can already see his back foot pushing back into the ground, right? He pushes off both feet, gets extension off that back leg too. Doesn't just step out with the back leg like we have a problem doing. He pushes off both, right? Now look, getting that extension. First step, relatively low to the ground. Nice big split, but watch his leg here. Watch what it does. What we do when we get to this position, which we don't even get to this position, but we're having a problem doing is we're getting out, and that foot is coming out past the knee. This knee angle is opening up, and the foot is just hanging there until it almost hits the ground. But watch what his leg does. He gets that extended position. Watch where the foot's going to start to go. Hold on a second. I'll fast forward here a little bit. All right, big extension, big all the way pushed, all the way out. But watch what look at this. He's pretty much toeing off here, right? But watch what he continues to do. He continues to extend as long as humanly possible on the ground and maintain this position so he covers ground with his hips. But watch this leg right here, right? It's not going to come out, reach for the ground and drop or just dangle there. Look how, even from that extended position, it's already traveling back down toward the ground. Look at that pushback. It's pushing back, then it makes contact with the leg underneath the hips. Now watch this left leg, right? Comes through, stays low, but look at the foot. It's not opening up and coming out past the knee. Good extension, vertical, not overstriding, and the foot comes back down, and look where it lands, under the hip. right, and continues to push back. Now he's at full support, and if you look at full support, his foot's actually slightly behind his hip. Continue to push, push, push all the way out of the ground. That's how we have to be, people, if we are going to run some fast times and get better acceleration. So here, let's take a look at it again. Look at that rip back. Let's just watch it one more time. I said one more time. That's brutal. That's violent. Right? That's the kind of violence we're looking for. Pushing into the ground, getting after it. Pushing, rip back into the ground. That's what we got to try to do. That's what we got to try to simulate. That's what we have to try to emulate. Ready, go. All right. So, you know, I think that's going to be part of a problem. I think that leads to a couple issues. So, it's coming out. You know, again, she's got good body position, and no doubt about that. Head in line. She's not looking up like most people do. Good angle here. Shins are basically parallel. Good positions. I just think that if her foot's underneath her hip, she's going to be able to get better push, as we'll talk about, and then she can try to get her hips up a little bit higher and get herself not kind of strung out a little bit. So as she comes out, seeing that little bit of rock back, and so this is why I have I generally endorse my sprinters have their shoulders directly above their hands. This might not be a great angle, but I have my shoulders come above their hands, so more here than out in front, because I just feel like now, especially because the position she's in, because she's too long here, they feel off balance. And so what happens when you have athletes in this situation? Either they rock back when the gun goes off, or this back leg, as we'll see, just kind of like steps out because her brain is trying to save itself from death. She's falling forward. So, as you can see here, she's anticipating the gun, obviously. So that's technically illegal. But her weight comes back, then she pushes out. So because she's starting from that position, right? So that looks like pretty decent push. I'd like to see a little bit more up here, but it's kind of like holding yourself low. But if you look at the swing leg here, if you look at the right leg, because it had to come from so far back, right now her center of mass started from so far forward, where you would want to see, like with Richard Thompson, what I look for with sprinters, particularly those first two steps especially, is being able to get this leg out and this right leg up a little bit higher. And that's partly because she's bent over at the waist here. She's leaning too far forward. Again, she should be 45-degree angle, so it should come kind of more up here. And because she's sort of bent over, broken at the hips here, not going to get as much knee drive. So position it set in the set position, or just the whole block position, plus this kind of leaning forward, prevents the knee from coming up. And so instead of getting that really good down and back push back so that she's attacking the ground with her foot, by the time her center of mass gets here, all she can do is kind of drop her foot. So you see that foot, there's no the right leg here. We don't see the foot come out and drive back into the ground. We just see it kind of come out and land. She's a lander. So it just lands. Now her foot strike is a little bit in front of her hips, and she can't get a lot of good push. And so because she's not getting that great push, this left leg isn't going to come through as powerfully. And so her heel recovery is decent here, and she looks like clearly a good athlete. So she's, you know, when I have athletes who come out of this position, they can't do this. But I'm assuming she's pretty good. So she's got extension here. Now look at that left leg. Right now, this is more the position. Now that's a much better body position. See this straight line? That's better, and she can get her knee up a lot higher than she did out of the block. So that first step is going to be important to fix. But if you look at that leg, right? What I want to see from this position now is this foot start to travel back toward the hips. Foot strike should be during acceleration, so even for the sprint hurdles, first 3-4 steps, directly beneath, if not slightly behind the hips at foot strike. And so she's got a little bit of that. Like, so foot strike, we're a little bit like a full support here. It's not bad, but see this daylight here? Because she's not getting good initial push, right? Action reaction. When the left leg comes down, she can't get that good push with the left leg, so her right leg isn't coming through as fast. So we see this daylight. Ideally, at full support, we should see more like this, right, at touchdown, so that she's the legs are together, and that's going to be more symmetric and allow for optimized push out of the blocks. Still not bad body positions here. Now let's look at that right leg, right? Still so early. We're only, right? 1 step, 2 steps, 3, still early drive, even in the hurdles. So look at that leg. What we're looking for here now is this ankle to stay tucked back behind the knee and drive back into the ground and continue to push your hips forward. And now what we're starting to see, which is very common, is a little bit of what's called casting. Casting this lower leg out, opening this knee angle up. And so at foot strike now, again, she's a little bit out in front of her hips, more than I'd like to see, but pretty good recovery. And again, this leg's dragging behind. I'd like to see this leg a little bit farther forward, so she's not getting quite as good push-pull here. Again, look at this left leg. Not too bad, but I'd really like to see it attacking the ground more. She's what Vince Anderson would call is a lander, right? So what we want people to do is really attack the ground first. So just like in the hurdles, we're trying to get athletes, we make our money on the ground in the hurdles. We don't want athletes floating in the air, so we're always saying attack the ground, attack off the hurdle to get on the ground quicker, right? What weak or poor or scared hurdlers do is they kind of jump over the hurdle and then they land. And once they land, they start running again. And that's not efficient, that's not fast. Well, that's kind of what she's doing in the sprint version, is instead of attacking the ground, she's landing on the ground, then trying to work off the ground, and that's not efficient, particularly during acceleration. So again, we see this daylight here. It wouldn't be as bad if we were truly on the side, but you see what I mean. And so now we see that casting, right? This, I would say, a little bit early for this. I understand you're probably trying to get her up tall. She's a little bit early for that casting. And again, you can see, because if you're going to say, oh, well, first 3 steps, then we need her to be up, more top speed mechanics to get her ready to the hurdle. Well, if that's the case, that as support during top speed work, both thighs should be together. One should not be lagging behind, which just tells me not good. Like, needs to work on glute max development, glute activation. Right, a lot of kids just aren't good at that. It's gonna be like one of my main themes for next year. Attacking is good. Again, look at that support, that daylight. To see her not kind of a little bit lordotic here, kind of butt out a little bit. Not bad though. Again, look at that. I don't know if I really want to see that before even clearing the first hurdle. This leg way back here, that's too extended. You're losing efficiency. You probably not continue to accelerate through the hurdle. All right. Cut step, not too bad. Probably maybe see a little bit of maybe more aggressively punching that elbow forward, but that's a coaching-ish choice or art or whatever you want to call it. I don't even think you're asking me to talk about hurdles. I think you just want me to look at her start, but I'll do it anyway. Again, main thing I see here, I'll probably want maybe a little bit more lean as she's taking off here. It's not a bad position, but this lead arm is not great. Again, always got to teach those hurdlers to adduct that trail leg as soon as they come off the hurdle so that the knee stays higher than the ankle, so you don't get that kind of like letting that ankle kind of whip around and come in an inefficient position off the hurdle, because you can see that toes down, see that knee. We just see even in the women's hurdles that knee should be a little bit higher. But again, we could debate that. Some people say in the women's hurdle is not quite the problem, but I just think that if we adduct the toe and try to pull the knee up into the armpit, she's going to get into a better sprint position right off the bat, and also she's not going to be in a position where she has to like sweep this arm so wide, right? That's slow rotation. We should be able to, we want that door tight. And the reason that she has to have it like that is because she's dragging that arm all the way, that leg is rotating slow because it's not in an efficient position. And now you look at her coming off the hurdle, right? She's, as you can see, I know she'd shut it down over the hurdle. always makes me angry when kids don't run 3 hard steps off the hurdle, but they never do. So she's off. So that might have just been not how she hurdles, because she was only going over 1, and so she shut it down over the air. But that's why I never let my athletes shut it down over the air. So hey, I hope that's been helpful. If you think it's crap, hey, let me know. But if you have any questions, I can do anything for you, let me know.